Welcome to Strung Out, the podcast that looks at life through the lens of an artist. Your host is the artist, writer, and musician, Martin Laurence McCormack. Now here's Marty.
Hey, great to be on Strung Out. I have my friend Robert Smith, philosopher, expert on the world. Before we started this camera rolling, you summed up this whole thing in 2 words. Pretty
depressing. Pretty depressing. Pretty depressing.
Where to start with the depressing news?
I don't know if I'm depressed more for Trump or the people that support him. And that's the part that bothers me. January 6th still sticks out in my mind.
Right.
And it's still unbelievable when I watch it. And Jack Smith, the prosecutor, came out with some new evidence that overrides what the Supreme Court says and stuff that we didn't know.
Right.
Like interviews with Pence. Yeah, and it's, I don't know where this is headed. This guy's still running. He should be in prison.
Well, do you think, what do you think, just from your gut, Kamala's chances are?
Very good.
I think so too.
Very good too. I think people are fed up. There may be people who will not vote.
Maybe there'll be people that won't vote.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we being in Chicago and Illinois, you almost kind of are frustrated by the fact that we're in such a heavily Democratic enclave that your vote, I mean, it's important to vote, but the vote itself, at least, it's not as important as if we were up in Wisconsin.
Right.
But
you got Dick Cheney supporting her.
Right.
Liz Cheney is supporting her, and lots of other Republicans. They're concerned about democracy, where it's going. That's where the issue is. They're worried about where democracy is going, and Trump can.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Now, there was one little glimmer, that lady out in Colorado that was the county clerk that tried to rig the election.
She got 9 years, right?
9 years in prison, and I
love it.
I read the transcript of the judge, his deliberation, and it was really something because he talked about how this lady was privileged. He said, you come from a privileged background, and I'm not just surmised, but he said, our court sees people that, suffer from circumstances like poverty, abuse, alcohol, drugs, and stuff. And he says, so when that comes in here, that's all laid out, and that's generally what we have to deal with. And he said, but you're here unrepentant, and he called her a charlatan.
No kidding.
Which is a great word that is, I think, a word we're going to hear a lot more of if these people all go to trial. And he said she was unrepentant.
Yeah.
She said your whole attitude in this thing has been, unrepentant. So I think his 9-year sentence. He said he said not that he tried to give her time off or anything like that. He said, basically, you cooked your own goose because you think you didn't do anything wrong. You're bringing along a television crew to still agitate and sell things. And he said he threw the book at her.
No kidding.
So 9 years in prison.
Wow.
Which is good.
Yeah. Will she spend the entire 9 years? Probably not.
Probably not.
It's not a violent crime that she did, but,
I'm just happy that she got incarcerated because I think the message in and of itself is, you tried to subvert democracy. And you have to go to prison.
Yeah.
And he didn't accuse her of treason, but he did accuse her of subverting democracy. And that, and proved that she did.
Yeah.
So I think, bodes well for if the rest of the country is able to come to their senses. Yeah.
And they're still prosecuting other people for that. And hopefully Trump will not get in because he has said that he would pardon all these people. Thousands that he could do that. He says they're patriots.
Right. And that's why he's down in Georgia. Why he was really sucking up to Brian Kemp is he realizes that he could possibly lose Georgia. If he loses Georgia, he will lose the election. If he loses the election, he's going to jail.
Yeah.
I think there's no way that he can get around that. And
that's why the judge did not sentence him, because he did not want to seem like he's interfering with the election, because he would.
Right.
Even though he might want to send this guy to jail, he said, well, I can't do this. This is not right on his record. So.
Right. I mean, since the last time we met, what a crazy change in the world. Last time we were talking, Joe Biden was still running.
That's right.
And now we have Kamala Harris, and she is kind of got rock star status as far as
money. The money coming.
The money that's coming in for her, and I like her.
Yeah.
I genuinely just feel like she's got a steady hand on the tiller.
She's a prosecutor.
She's a prosecutor.
Put a lot of rich people in prison.
In prison.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
And even if my fear is, even if she wins, look where we are as a country.
Yeah.
Let's say she wins.
Yeah.
Let's hope she wins. But I'm still going to think about, look how close it came. What's with these other people?
Right.
They're still in the country. They're American citizens. We have to respect their rights, their votes.
Right.
But I mean, this is terrible.
Well, there was a great endorsement that came out yesterday from Bruce Springsteen.
Ah, yes, I heard.
Did you hear about it?
Yeah.
And he's addressing what you're talking about, is that where the country is right now, that we have so much work that we can't afford to have a guy like Trump, because we have to clean up.
Yeah.
There's still that cleanup, that mess.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, the Biden administration cleaned up the COVID and the economy mess, but we never really had the chance yet to clean up the Trump mess, which is all the lies to the point of, we have insurrection, we have this, it's lies, it's just cultish
the courts,
brainwashing.
With 60 attempts, 60 court efforts to overturn it, and they all rejected him, so that's in place. But the fact that he actually tried to do it, and what does it say to young people who want to get into the justice system?
Well, it's scary.
Yeah.
Or you want to be an election judge, or you want to just, all those things. That's the fact that they turned the whole democratic process, and it's a they. It's not only, Trump, but it's all those guys like Matt Gaetz and all those other people that kind of, they've turned this thing into, a racist, classist, you name it.
Yeah.
They did it to go and keep themselves in power.
Then you have the war.
Yeah.
And Harris has to walk a fine line. I'm sure she doesn't like what's going on, but we're supplying the weapons. We're supplying the weapons and the tanks and everything else. And I mean, what do you say? What do you say?
Yes.
And I watch PBS NewsHour, and you see this kid, these children that are blown apart. And I mean, what do you do?
Yeah. I don't know. I have agonized over that, and I can't imagine what, like, somebody that has the power, like Harris or Biden.
Yeah.
What do you do with such an ally?
Yeah. Who is not listening to you?
Not listening to you.
Exactly.
It's like
exactly.
And this is the thing, is they're going their own way, and you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, at least until the election, because if you pull back on the arms, then you're going to have a whole block of people that are going to say, hey man, you're throwing Israel under the bus. And right now, even though the Muslim American community is saying you're throwing our people under the bus, they just don't have the financial power.
There's suggestions that Netanyahu is doing this until the election is over, because he wants Trump's support.
Well,
and that's it.
I think it's interesting that you bring that up, because the parallels between Netanyahu and Trump just are are amazing in the sense that they both are facing criminal prosecution, and both are paddling as hard as they can to stay out of jail.
Yeah.
In Netanyahu's case, it is whack the dog. You know, I mean, Hamas, you know, he leading up to October 7th, which we're coming up a year on, he did aid and abet the enemy, apparently, with cash donations and things like that. Some very nefarious dealings with the Hamas government. And ultimately, really, I think what this comes down to is Israel versus Iran. And that's really where this is all heading.
Both have nuclear weapons, am I right?
Well,
I don't know if
Iran,
Israel,
we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Israel, we know.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure, but we're pretty sure that they do. Even in this age of nuclear weapons, I mean, look what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, the to use one is to end the world. I don't think it would go that direction. But I do think what's going to happen here is what's happening here is that Israel is going to follow it all the way through. They're gonna fight with Hezbollah. Looks like you know, the war is now in Lebanon. It's war.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what it's going to be is going after Iran. Who suffers in this scenario is over on our side of the pond, the Muslim American community that has family, has friends,
I know,
and relatives that are getting blown apart. I can't fathom it, and I think it's a horrible situation because the people in this power play between all these factions, really between Iran and Israel, are caught in this vice. And
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, Biden has talked to him, but you know, there's been cabinet members of Netanyahu that had quit. They say this is going too far, but he's guaranteed at least 4 years as a president. And there were protests, you know, thousands of people, but he's still in office.
Right. Well, you know,
what do
he
you do?
brought in to hold his power. He brought in the far right.
Okay.
And these guys in the far right are they don't even believe that the Palestinians have a right to exist on that land. It's really it's not there's no easy answer.
And the slaughter continues when you hear about a bombing and they say they killed, I don't know where they get the intel from. How do you know that you killed this guy? They probably did, but they killed him and his 2 daughters. But where'd you get the intel from? Where's the information coming from? And then other people are killed along with this guy.
Well, we won't know for sure until this is all over, because that's how that goes. Is you know, you're getting reports from Hamas, you know, like in Gaza, you know, that thousands of people have been killed, and you're getting reports from Israeli intelligence over, you know, hundreds, if not thousands, of terrorists being killed. You just don't know. I think you don't know. And so, you know, I think ultimately what I hear the Muslim American community saying is we're going to have to just vote for the lesser of 2 evils and then pray that once Harris gets in, she'll have the bully pulpit and the ability, which I think she will. I don't think she, it's a mess to extricate ourselves from. Plus, I don't know if we can extricate ourselves because we're the great Satan.
And we're still supporting Israel. I mean, if you stop sending weapons, it'll end.
Right.
But then again,
you might end.
I don't know. I don't know. You know, unless you're a magician or something, snap your fingers and make this go away. That's not going to happen.
They were very
diplomacy. They've tried diplomacy, but still nothing is happening, and people are dying every day by the numbers.
I always, you know, and I'm always a little tongue-in-cheek with it, but I always feel like, you know, what we have to lean on is that everybody becomes Israeli, and then you get the vote, and then you get your blocks of power, and then you get your representation, and then you get ultimately your freedom. It's kind of like the Irish with the Good Friday Accords with Northern Ireland is you get a representation of a vote. But what's going on in Gaza makes what went on in Ireland look like a cakewalk.
It's a massacre.
This is just doesn't bode well for not only the world but also for just our country in particular, and it's painful. But it's the only way that it'll be solved, I think, is you have to really track where the money is going and how much, who is benefiting from this, really, financially.
There are always individuals benefiting from war. But the thing is, how is history going to judge us?
Right.
I mean, right now. And if it's over 40,000 people killed, 15,000 being children, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there's no protests in the streets here. I mean, there were some student protests, but they shut those down.
Yeah, they tamped those down over the summer.
Yeah.
And
they were comparing it to the 1960s, but it didn't get right there.
No.
It didn't get right there.
No. And
because a war was going on, and there was a draft.
And it wasn't our war per se, in the sense that, there's not American body bags coming back.
That's the key thing. We're indirectly involved, but I'm being my age, I remember a lot of my classmates getting drafted.
Sure.
You were going to Vietnam.
Right.
So they had to be in the street. If the draft was active right now, you'd see.
It would be big. It would be a different thing.
You would see. You would see more people in the streets.
Which is a weird way of saying it might be a good thing to have a draft. I always think that we should at least have mandatory civil service as part of a draft.
Yes.
But we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about the depressing news cycle that we have successfully avoided for about 3 months.
I know.
But this is an important one because probably by the next time we are able to get together, we're going to have a new president.
Yeah.
So.
Or an old president.
Okay. You're watching Strung Out. Jack carries his soul in a turnip shell in the crook of his arm. Wanders the road alone at night for doing the devil harm. The turnip has 2 slits for eyes and another for its nose. The mouth is carved as in surprise, from it his red soul glows.
Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, for all his soul it might be lost. Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, for all his soul it might be lost.
Jack, he was a thieving man, the kind the devil cursed. Jack fooled the devil to be a coin, kept him in his purse. The devil promised Jack he would never live in hell. Jack took the devil from his sack, threw him down the well.
Oh, Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, or else his soul it might be lost. Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, or else his soul it might be lost.
In heaven, Peter locked him out, sent him straight to hell. The devil let out a frightened shout and locked him out as well. Spirits to see his lantern run away with a scream. That's why we carve the pumpkin every Halloween.
Oh, jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity, jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, for us the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, wandering eternity, jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, for us the soul that might be lost.
Carve your pumpkin scary, a candle you must light. On that evening eerie we call Halloween night. He'll scare away the demons, keep them from attack. Tell the devil himself, take care, it might just be your Jack.
Oh, jack-o'-the-lantern, wandering eternity, jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or else the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, wandering eternity, jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or else the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, wandering eternity, jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or else the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, wandering eternity, jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or else the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, wandering eternity, jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or else the soul that might be lost.
Hello, this is Polly Chase, presenting artwork by Martin McCormack. This painting, titled Dude, features a mountain range that holds a special place in Marty's heart. On the canvas, which measures 20 by 24, we see the Tetons rising in the hazy distance of a view from an abandoned dude ranch just outside Jackson Hole, Wyoming, near Marty's parents' old place. The cool blues and violets of the background complement the buttery yellow foreground. These colors pass the viewer's attention back and forth along the horizontal plane, while the decaying Model T sinks into that scrubby landscape from which the majestic peaks punch upward along the vertical plane. It's a quiet yet very moving scene, both artistically and emotionally. It pulls the imagination into a human story waiting to be told, one witnessed by rock that is millions of years old. To explore this painting and more of Marty's artwork, go to martinmccormack.com.
We are back on the vast estate here. I've got my colleague Robert Smith, and we are doing the roundup, and we're both in agreement. This has been very, I actually feel physically angst-ridden.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, if you
And
feel
that's-
like under tension.
A lot of people, a lot of Americans are not sleeping.
Yeah.
You go to bed and this is going on. You wake up in the morning, it's going on. You hear the news reports, more thousands are killed, the
Yeah.
whole bit. But you know, it's easy to just flip the channel and not, like we were saying earlier, it's not like a draft. You know, we don't have to, we're participating indirectly. We have no control of where our funds go, but we're involved. And it's gonna affect us. It's gonna come back to haunt us.
What I think is ironic is here we are agonizing with this Israeli conflict, where we because of our obligations to Israel, it's an open sluice really of funding. Yet here you have a country that's like Ukraine, invaded by an enemy that's historically been an enemy of the United States, you know, and it's like pulling teeth to get the funding for them, and they're actually going to, you know, if they win, they will hold Western Europe together, basically.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, I find it just crazy that here we have, and this is, again, relatable to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, this whole thing with Putin.
The strong man
strongman
persona,
thing.
yeah.
And, you know, is there something more behind it? Boy, I think if he loses, we have so much to learn and find out if he loses this election. And I think that's you know, I really hope that he will lose the election, just so we can, as a democracy, get our act together. But in the course of this thing with Ukraine, you know, they're
So much money.
so much money in the
Billions of dollars there, billions of dollars in it. What about the people on the streets of Chicago,
Right.
different states?
Right.
I mean, people sleeping on the streets. And just before I came here, there was a guy driving along Clark, and he stopped me. He wanted to give me his ring, his gold ring, for $20.
Oh my God!
He said I gave him all the way from Canada. This is real.
Wow.
You know, I'm thinking I gave him like $10.
Yeah.
You know, he said, but I need more. And I'm thinking, of course, I was a little skeptical when I was
Sure.
in the car, but there was a woman in the car with him. I'm thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah, yeah.
Why does he have to come all the way from Canada?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it's living in the city, and maybe we should shift to that, because we're not going to solve any of this stuff with the Israel and Ukraine. We just have to. It's going to grind on,
Yeah.
but
for how long though? I'm getting tired of it. And
I am too. I mean, I think the world is tired of it. But you got these old white farts
yeah,
that are in power, and you got Putin, you got Netanyahu, and you got these people like that. You got Trump.
Yeah.
You got these people that
But
they
no-
represent an era that should be dying now, right?
it's amazing, and they're still alive.
I know.
You know,
It's
isn't
like a
it?
deal with the devil or
I
something.
know,
They're like
I know.
Mick Jagger.
I know. I know. I mean, what if Harris gets in, and she had the guts to say, you know, I'm not sending weapons, but that conflicts with the NATO treaty, right? You attack one, you attack all.
Well,
That's what Hillary
you know,
Clinton was talking
with
about.
Ukraine, with Ukraine, they're not. You know, this is the other loophole. They're not part of NATO
Yeah,
yet,
you're right.
and but they might as well be. In fact, had they maybe have been part of NATO, maybe this wouldn't have happened, because the deterrent would have
That's
been
right.
there.
They did apply.
But
I think they
did
did
apply,
apply.
and you know, the Western European countries dragged their feet. And you know, if one thing Trump is right about is that the European industrialized nations have leaned on the United States to be the big brother.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you know, even Canada has not gotten to 2% military funding. That is the requisite of NATO, and 2% of their GDP. What does that mean? It means that you and I are paying for it.
Yeah.
We can't pay for what's going on then in our neighborhood. And our neighborhood, I mean, finally, it looks like a men's shelter is coming in.
Yeah.
And
Up on Clark.
up on Clark Street. Long overdue. And I don't know about you, but I've noticed it seems like there's been an uptick again in like mentally ill, homeless men.
Yeah.
Occasionally you'll see women.
Yeah.
But I saw a guy in front of the fire station the other day taking my daughter to school, naked from the waist down.
What?
He had his pants around his ankles. He was doing something right there in front of the fire station. And, you know, this is mental illness. And this is the men's shelter, hopefully, will address some of it.
But they're limited in space, though.
Yeah, it's the tiniest men's shelter.
Yeah.
And it had languished for years. It was like a clinic that has no parking.
Mm-hmm.
And it really points out to me that, you know, even though we're trying to, you know, the community can only do so much with so many, with the limitations in funds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really, you know, no way of figuring out what to do, because that I can see, aside from, because you can't put these people in a place where you can help them, per se, right? I mean, that's the challenge.
There were protests against that shelter. In fact, some of the people who protested had been homeless themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, now you're not homeless, but you still don't have any
It's the whole
respect for.
not in my backyard kind
Yeah,
of thing. But
exactly.
you know, the truth is you know, they are in our backyard.
They're our
and
neighbors.
They're our neighbors. And there was a guy, you know, just driving back from my daughter's piano lesson, Anya's piano lesson. You know, here you had a guy just lying on Morse Avenue,
Yeah.
lying on the street. I just think that we need, as a society, but there's got to be a better way of taking care of these people, making sure that they get. First of all, it's mainly, I think, mental illness. They need to get the medication.
Yeah.
And knowing people who are have mental illness, it's very difficult because once you start taking the medication, you feel good.
Yeah.
Then you stop taking the medication. That's kind of the knee-jerk reaction. It's like, I don't need this kind of thing.
There should be a department specifically dedicated to that, but there isn't. There isn't. And
Yeah.
we men, as you mentioned earlier, we don't have the social network that women have.
Right.
There's been PBS and other programs have talked about how men are not together. And
Yep.
you know, turn on the crime, 99% of the crime is men.
Yeah.
99% of men doing the crime. Young, old, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's, with crime, it's not just that segment of the population too.
Yeah.
You're talking about a bigger issue that lies in American society, and that is, that men
Tend to be more violent.
they tend to be more
Yeah,
violent.
yeah.
We don't have the social structures
Yeah.
that are necessary for men to be able to sit and work out their problems.
They don't have the family support. Maybe there's no family at all. We don't
Right.
really know. We really don't know. Like the guy you saw on the street, what's his story?
What's his story?
Yeah.
And that's where I think, that's beautiful you said it, because that's where the humanity comes
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
What, I mean, that
Why are
was
you
the thing.
sleeping on the streets?
Yeah,
Well,
what is your story? Who are you?
Yeah.
Where did you come from?
Yeah.
Like that guy that's trying to sell the ring,
Yeah.
and what do? You say, you ask yourself, well, am I enabling this person by giving this guy $10? Or am I just doing the right thing? That's part of the burden that's shifted onto society too, because if there was a comprehensive thing, even like a voucher system,
Mhm.
I thought, what if you were able to buy vouchers to like Dunkin' Donuts that would entitle a person, the bearer, to have a cup of coffee and a donut?
Yeah.
As silly as that sounds.
Yeah.
Now you have some sort of structure in which these people can be directed. But it's going to take more than that. Once upon a time, we had mental hospitals, and that necessarily wasn't the right way either. But
But what do you do?
yeah, I don't
mean-
think you can. I don't think it's working with medicating people and setting them out on the street.
No.
You
no.
can't. You can't do that.
And then some of the shelters, the men are not there all day. They leave, they go look for work, whatever they need, and they have to be back at a certain time. And I think they're there for a specific amount of time.
Well, that's, I think, part of the challenge of this is that, the government, those are some of the rules that are put in there. You have to look for work. You have to, it's going to take more than that.
There are
And-
people who I see panhandling, like on Morris Avenue, there for years.
Yeah.
Same woman, same guy.
Same guy.
Something's wrong there going
Right.
on, And what do you do with them?
I don't know.
Maybe they don't want to work.
Well, and
Maybe-
maybe they are successful. I wonder sometimes if how much, what kind of money that brings in, because sometimes you see some organized, it seems organized, where I've noticed up like on McCormack Boulevard where there will be a person working, and then like a supervisor, somebody comes in and changes them out.
I see.
And so then you're like, not knowing the full situation. I'm like, well, that seems strange to me. That doesn't say that they're not there for a legitimate reason. They obviously are trying to get money. But let's talk about the other issue that is still pervasive in the city and ties up nicely with our election, the national election, and that is the immigration issue.
I heard it's easing up a little bit.
They closed 2 shelters in
Yes.
Chicago.
Yes, because it's easing
I
up.
wanted to know what you thought of that. I mean, do you feel like why are they closing these shelters when we have people that need to be put in shelters?
Less people are coming in, they're saying?
Yeah,
I still
immigrants.
see them in front of the Target stores.
Yes.
Sometimes in front of Jewel's, but I'm actually seeing less immigrants on the streets.
Did you notice though those people that are begging?
Yeah.
How different they are from the other. I mean, there's definitely an immigrant
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
one thing I saw that was, again, on McCormack Avenue, I saw a guy come out into traffic, and he was juggling.
Mm-hmm.
And then putting out his cap. And I was like, I've never seen that before.
No kidding.
And, but that was something very reminiscent of like seeing down in Costa Rica.
Okay.
Or something where somebody would,
they're performing something.
Yeah, I'm going to perform.
Yeah.
It's like the old,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, I'm cleaning your windshield.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But it's, those people are there. Families, old families.
Yeah.
Begging.
Yes.
That's
one of the immigrants I saw in front of the Target. I recognized her daughter because she was at the school.
Oh.
The school that I knew. She remembered me, and I remember giving $20. But thinking, oh my God. And the next day I went to school and I said to the teacher whose classroom she was in, I saw such and such. I didn't remember her name, but I described her.
Right.
And she said, oh my God. It's just. But you know what? I'm not an expert on it, but there are policies that we have done to these South American countries that causes people to come here.
Yeah.
Rigging elections, wars, funding underground groups, the whole bit, and they come here. We're part of it.
Well,
we're part of the problem.
We're part of the problem, and again, it comes down to follow the money trail, even if it's an old money trail. Yeah, we created a lot of banana republics down there, so we could eat bananas in this country. And now, we're kind of reaping the whirlwind in the sense that anytime there is economic chaos in some of these poorer countries like Honduras and Guatemala, they're going to come up. We have a lot of Venezuelans, but that's, Maduro's regime.
Exactly.
He squelched democracy, and again, you're getting into the geopolitical thing. It's complicated.
And he's still in power, even though we know the election was rigged. And we're not. The United States government recognized that he shouldn't be the president. But what are we going to do?
What are you going to do?
We can't do anything.
I mean, unless you go to war. And then why do you go? Why do you want to go to war?
You don't want to do
because you're going to create a refugee crisis that's even bigger.
I know.
But we also have coming over the border a lot of illegal Chinese. And it's so the border situation, to say, there's no problem with either border, the northern or southern border, is to be wearing blinders. But you're not going to be able to build a wall.
No.
You're not. It's going to have to take a much more bureaucratic process of vetting and processing. I always felt like instead of having the processing over the border, we should be setting up processing consulates in any country that's willing to have it. So in other words, if I was thinking, I want to go to the United States, I would go to this thing and I would say, I want to apply for asylum. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe they'd get killed. But the idea that trying to treat it with a little bit of dignity, so these people are not going, and being every step of the way abused by mules, coyotes, raped.
Right.
I mean, extorted for money.
We had an immigration process policy in hand, and it was bipartisan. Trump made a phone call. Mike Johnson squashed it.
Right.
Because he did not want to give any juice to Biden.
Exactly.
Now, isn't that terrible? This guy's not even the president, and he makes one phone call, and Mike Johnson railroads the whole thing. In my understanding, they had the votes, and they were going to go.
You're absolutely right.
And the Republicans, they don't care.
All right.
They don't. They want to stay in office.
Do you think we're going to see a third party, a new party? I mean, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, all these people are kind of.
I like Adam Kinzinger.
Yeah.
I've seen him before.
These real Republicans,
Yeah.
as I like to call them.
Yeah.
We need to have. There needs to be, if we're going to have a two-party system, you got to have a working opposition. I don't care what side.
But they've been trying. They've been trying to create it. Kissinger was on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he got a certified letter from a relative that you're no longer my cousin.
Oh yeah. No, he's been kicked out of his family.
Exactly. Because of this guy. Because of Trump.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but that's
even his when he was in the Air Force. He said the guy he flew helicopters with or airplanes told him to get lost.
Yeah.
He said, I fought in the war with this guy, and he's What does that
That's
tell you?
same thing is happening with Tim Walz. With his military, the people that he worked with in the Minnesota National Guard. There are people that are loyal to Trump, and they are going to be loyal to Trump regardless. And it's that time on the program where we make predictions, Robert.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's pretend we're sitting here and it's November 6th.
Yes.
What do you predict on November 6th?
I suspect that Harris will win. Maybe not by a landslide, but she will win.
Mhm.
I think she will win. People are tired of Trump, and they want some sanity in the government. I really think that she's going to win.
Mhm.
She has incredible support. If she loses, I'm going to be shocked because of the Republican support that's behind her.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's my prediction. I can't see her not losing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she's going to win.
Yeah.
I think she's going to win, like you said. It's not. I will be thrilled if it's a landslide,
Yeah.
but I'm not holding my breath. I think she's going to be. She's going to win. Mexico's already set the precedent on this hemisphere by having a female president.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes.
And so
yes.
now,
Forgot about that. Yes. Yes.
it's high time the United States came in with not only a female president but a woman of color,
Yeah.
and who happens, she can be Indian one day and black the
Yeah.
other
That's
day.
right. That's right.
It's
That's
amazing.
right. That's right. That's
So
right.
it's magic.
That's right. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
It's just sad that here we are, almost a quarter of the century expired, and we're still dealing with this crap from the 19th century.
Yeah.
But that's the way that the world turns, I guess. Any predictions in Chicago? Anything that you see coming
Brandon,
in?
I don't know. I haven't
With,
been following
Mayor
Brandon
Johnson?
Johnson.
Yeah.
He's I understand the entire CPS board is going to resign.
Yeah.
He handpicked these people.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Well, this is the first time that we're actually going to have school board elections, right?
Right.
So that's a step forward, I
Yeah.
think, instead of handpicking. But what are they revolting over with him? Do you
I
know?
guess my understanding, the current CEO of this, I think his name, the Latino brother, he
Menendez.
Yeah. I think that Brandon Johnson wanted them to take out a loan or some kind of, for the $1 billion shortfall, and he refused to do it. That's
okay.
a big part of it. And he said that, I don't know, I'm hearing two different stories. He said he didn't want to force him out, but he's asking the board to fire him. I don't know who's telling the truth or not. But the bottom line, his hands are tied, and here we are. The CPS, the school boards are behind the current president. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean,
Yeah. Is that tied to pensions? Do you know, or anything like that?
Yes,
Okay.
it is tied to pensions. And because my kids are not in public school anymore, I don't
Yeah.
follow this much. But it will have an effect on us.
It's a perennial problem that we have not only with Chicago but the state of Illinois, that we have these people that are living longer and they're drawing pensions.
Yes.
And so always there's a budget shortfall, and ultimately I don't know how much more
Yeah.
you and I can pay to make up the shortfall.
And you're a homeowner, so your property
And it's
taxes are going
going
to go
up,
up. It's going up.
up.
Yeah.
And so it's extremely difficult to try to figure out how you make ends meet in Chicago. Don't get me wrong, this is the greatest city on earth.
Yeah.
We have our problems, but
Yeah, we have our challenges.
but
That's true.
it's a great city, and so I'm rooting for I guess with that issue, I'm rooting for a third way. I just wish maybe the federal government would kind of step in or something to help with this budget shortfall, because it seems like this is something that's going to, we're just not going to be able to undo it unless we build up our cities.
But what
We
about
got to
others?
build up the neighborhoods.
But I'm sure there's other cities. I'm not following close, but a lot
Sure.
of other cities that have the same problem.
Same problem. So this is probably an issue that we should look in more. Maybe next time we'll come back, we'll have a better idea
Yeah.
whether this is a national big urban model. But in the meantime, the good news in Chicago is murder rates down.
Yes, yes.
Murder rates down across the United States
Yes.
under this current administration, and the economy is booming in this current administration. Even though there are people that are suffering, the homeless and such. It seems like there just needs to be more effective legislation to help these people and empower us people
Yes.
to help them.
Yes.
I think is the biggest thing.
What about the break-ins? Have you been following that?
No, but
Stores, stores have been
you mean like
early in the morning.
professional
Yeah, exactly,
break-ins?
exactly.
Yeah.
Retail stores have been broken like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
like organized
a crew of
crime.
guys, they got it on video. These guys have masks and they're breaking in. It's happening all over the place.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just organized, gang-related
Yeah.
kind of easy way to make money. If I was to try to glean anything good out of it, maybe the drug trade's down.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
they're cracking on fentanyl, so
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah.
trying to go in and rob a jewelry store.
Yeah, you can't sell marijuana on the streets anymore.
yeah.
I mean, you can, but
You
it's
can, but that killed something,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So they're going to try to resort to something else, and the fentanyl trade. Just watch. That's going to be cracked down. There's so much of that's coming in from China, and I was just reading that a lot of that
That's
is
right.
just a loophole
That's right.
with the carrier companies.
That's right. CP, I think 60 Minutes were talking about that. Yeah. A
So
lot of it's coming from China.
China,
Yeah.
and then it's shipped to like a driver then that a private delivery driver legally can drive the components over the border to Mexico to the cartels.
Yeah.
So that is a loophole that's going to have to be fixed. Until we can get control over fentanyl, then we're always going to continue to have a drug problem. And some of these homeless people, they're on something.
Yeah.
When they're walking right down the street and it's they don't see any traffic or whatever, and the glassy-eyed thing.
Didn't the actor that was on Friends, what's his name, Matthew
Perry.
Perry? Did he die from?
He died from getting
Yeah.
an overdose prescription
Yeah.
from a doctor who's going to go to jail, I
Yeah.
think, or is
Yeah.
in trial, pled guilty.
Yeah.
So, it's not just a poor man's
Yeah.
problem.
Michael Jackson died from
Michael
fentanyl.
Jackson.
I think Prince was fentanyl the same way.
Prince, was
He was in pain.
on some sort of pain, and
Yeah.
since he was a Christian Science,
Yeah.
there's a loss. I still miss Prince.
Yeah.
I feel like, but I think we'll cap it off there for the where we're at. Hopefully, when we come back, we will have
Some good news.
Yes.
It is depressing. There are
Yeah.
good things happening in the world, and maybe the next time we talk, we should talk about those things.
Well,
There's good things.
we'll look
It's
for the
hard to
good.
find, but there are good things going. We should bring a list.
We're going to make a list for the next roundup on the good things happening in this world. I'm going to hold you to it, and I'm going to hold me to it.
Yes, yes.
So we'll come back after November 5th because we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
So I'm Marty McCormack,
I'm Robert Smith.
and you are on Strung Out.
Thank you for listening. For more information about this show or a transcript, visit martinmccormack.com. While there, sign up for our newsletter. See you next time on Strung Out.
It's all so wrong, this pain we feel makes no sense at all. A swan song was a part of the deal, was no curtain call. Given no choice, given no step.